Alright lads, so yesterday I did make a video talking about how many rewards you can get for guild quests and why you should be doing your guild quests daily, especially if you can complete all 5 ways on the hard difficulty. Additionally, in the beginner's guide that I did make around 3 or so months ago, I do briefly touch up on guild quests, but I don't really talk about the hard difficulty of guild quests, and the main reason because it's kind of different. It's a lot different compared to the normal difficulty, and that's what I'm mainly here to talk about today. How to tackle the hard difficulty of guild quests. Things you need to know before going into it, what teams you should be making, and stuff that KLab don't tell you about that you definitely need to know. So firstly, let's look at the difference between the normal difficulty and the hard difficulty. So for normal, what you will see here is that the rules are a lot different. In normal, you have 2 times strong attack damage, range resistance, and that's basically about it. Very simple. Bring a melee character, and they want to be strong attack based, because if they are, they're getting double damage on their strong attacks. So the method for normal difficulty is pretty much just bring your 3 best SP characters and try and clear as fast as possible, but you can't really do that in the hard difficulty. And what you will notice, especially when building your team, is that you want to mainly prioritize bringing in normal attack damage characters, attack based characters, because they are the ones going to be doing a lot of damage, and that's mainly due to the new rules that we do have in place. Of course, besides the fact that the hard difficulty has significantly more HP than the normal difficulty, we also have other things that we have to consider. For starters, now we have status augment pools across the entire map. In this case, for the Aaroniero week that we have currently going on right now, you will notice it says freeze. So within this map, you will notice there's going to be a lot of frozen pools, and you want to make sure that if the character you are bringing can either 1, be naturally immune to frozen, or 2, you can make them immune to frozen by either giving them links, accessories, or giving them bonus abilities to ensure they can be immune to frozen. And it's very important you do know what type of guild quest has a type of status augment. So on your screen right now is a list of all the guild quests in order and the status augments that will be featured in that guild quest, because these don't change. They're always going to be the same, so it's very important you do memorize this, so when you are working on your character or links or accessories or bonus abilities, you can give them the corresponding immunities to make it so they can be immune to the said status augment. The second rule is still a range resistance. It basically stayed the exact same. This one doesn't change. So again, you want to bring a melee character or a ranged character that does have the skill sharpshooter, or ignore range resistance. But now you'll see a difference here. What you have here, instead of strong attack damage times 2, you have melee damage times 2. And this is really important to know, because in normal difficulty, if you brought a character with sharpshooter that was ranged, they would still get the 2 times strong attack damage buff. Now if you bring a ranged character, even if they can do damage because they are ignoring the resistance, they are missing out on that 2 times damage buff. Only melee characters are going to get that buff. So for the most part, you want to build a team that's melee based or fully range based, depending on the week that you are going against. In this case, it's melee damage times 2. Additionally, the reason why this is also important is that now normal attack characters are getting that 2 times damage buff. In the normal difficulty, they didn't get any type of buff. It was only to strong attack damage. Now in the hard difficulty, both SP characters and attack based characters can get that 2 times damage buff as long as they are melee based. And then lastly, the final rule is special move damage is now cut in half. So your soul bomb is doing 50% less damage. So when you do use your soul bomb, you want to make sure that you can guarantee that it does go to the final wave. Otherwise, you've got to hold it for a few more seconds until you do enough damage to ensure that your soul bomb can nuke through to the final wave. So that's the big difference between the normal difficulty and the hard difficulty. The hard difficulty features status augments, it has melee damage or range damage, no longer is it strong attack damage times 2, and most importantly, your special move damage is now cut in half. Very, very big difference. Make sure you know these things. And now let's talk about the details that KLab don't tell you, the hidden details, the stuff that you're only going to find out by basically watching videos like this. So firstly, let's look at the HP of every main boss. Again, every guild quest has 5 different waves with 5 massive HP bosses. So the first boss is going to have 2.5 million HP. The second is going to have 4.2 million HP. The third is going to have 5 million HP. Fourth has 7 million, and the final boss has a whopping 10 million HP. Additionally, and most importantly, the enemies that you will see in guild quests in the hard difficulty also have a defense stat. And the reason why this is very important to know is because if you are bringing a non-attack damage character, if you do not have a higher attack stat than their defense stat, you will be doing 1 damage. For strong attacks and soul bombs, they completely ignore defense, so you don't have to worry about that. But for non-attack characters, if you want to be doing damage, you essentially have to have above 3,600 attacks. So looking at this defense chart, what you will see here is that it's laid out by boss type, so boss 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. The normal enemies also have a defense stat, and most importantly, the defense the enemies have will depend on the guild quest you are doing. If you're doing the Captain and Espada week, the 3 times Killer guild quest week, they will have a tad bit less defense, but for the 5 times Killer guild quest, so Aranka, Holo, Sorry, but no affiliation, for example. So if you look at the 5 times Killer guild quest weeks, the most important ones, the ones that you're doing more often than not, the final boss has a 4,000 defense stat. That is very, very high. So for your side NAD characters or any NAD character you bring into your team, for them to do a lot of damage, a lot of consistent damage, they need to have above 4,000 attack. If they don't, they are now doing 1 damage. And there's many ways to increase your attack: by Transcendence, by Link Slots, and most importantly, bringing a team booster into your team to allow your attack stat to go above what it would normally be had you not been given a boost. So that said, now let's jump over to the team creation. What teams should you be building for guild quests? So the very simple way of how to build a team when you're first starting to attempt the hard difficulty of guild quest is to bring 2 NAD characters. The 2 AI characters that you are not going to control are better off being NAD characters. The reason for that is because they do a lot of damage, they can be quite tanky, and they do a lot of consistent damage. Because the bosses have such a high amount of stamina or HP, if you bring 3 SP characters, by the time they use all 3 strong attacks, which at that point they'll be sitting ducks, if you don't clear all 5 waves, it's completely over. Your team isn't going to last long enough. They're going to pretty much die, and they're going to be doing no damage. With NAD characters, because you can give them chappies, you can build them to be quite tanky, they can do a lot of consistent damage, and that's basically the key to beating the hard difficulty of guild quests. 2 NAD characters on the side, one of them preferably a booster, and then your main character, the one you're controlling, you can bring a NAD character, but I would recommend bringing an SP character. The reason for this is because you can do a decent amount of damage on your soul bomb, but depending on the character you are using, you can maybe keep them in place in a vortex, but you could also just clear all the mini mobs, so the 2 side characters can focus on the main boss, the boss that has a lot of HP. So one example team, let's look at this week, for example, the melee Aranka week of guild quests. What type of character would I actually bring? So for starters, looking at our main SP character, I'm going to bring someone like Rukia. She's a very good SP character, she has a high chance to inflict freeze when she does transform, and most importantly, I do have her transcended. Now, of course, your team might differ, your main character might differ, but most importantly, you just want a very strong SP character to lead your entire team. For our 2 side lane characters, we're going to bring 2 non-attack damage characters, right? So our first one is going to be someone like Nelia. She is a character that does have increased damage in guild quest, but it doesn't really matter. The whole point is that she is a normal attack damage character that I have at level 10 attack, I have good links onto her, and I've worked on the character, because that's something that you have to do in guild quest. You can't just bring a character unprepared. You need to work on your team. In this case, Nelio has been prepared for guild quest, and she is ready to go, and she's going to be doing a lot of normal attack damage character. I've ensured that she has above 4,000 attack stat, and we're good to go. For our final character, we're bringing 1,000 Year Blood War Soifon. She is the most important piece to the team. The reason for that is because she herself is a non-attack damage character, so she is going to be doing a lot of damage with her non-attack string, but most importantly, she is a team booster. What you might find out is that if you're building a team and you're building your character, you might not get above a 4,000 attack stat, so one of the ways to improve that is to bring a team booster. Whether that's a side NAD character itself, or your main SP lead being the team's booster, almost every team needs to have a booster. A boost, if you don't know, increases your attack and focus and defense by 33%. So that's a massive attack buff, and it will ensure that if you're just below the 4,000 attack stat threshold to actually do damage to the final boss, that boost will increase your attack above 4,000, so you can therefore do even more damage. And that's generally the basic idea of how you want to build your teams in guild quests. Your main character wants to be SP based, your second character wants to be a non-attack damage character, and your third also wants to be a non-attack damage character, preferably with a boost. If you can't fulfill that, try and have your main character have the boost, so support those 2 NAD characters. Now, there are other teams you can make. For example, as I did mention at the start of the video, you can't build a triple SP team, but you can do that if you have a good enough team, and we're talking like whale teams right here. Triple SP teams, max transcended at T20. And what you will notice if you see my past guild quest videos is is that I have cleared guild quests in like less than 5 seconds, less than 2 seconds, and it's all thanks to these very overpowered characters. The general idea is that you want to bring 3 SP characters all at max transcendence at T20 abilities with full stam and also damage to maybe weaken enemies, and your main SP character has to be someone that can nuke very hard to basically ignore the fact that your soul bomb is now doing 50% less damage. So the few characters that can actually nuke through all 5 waves with good enough teams is someone like Christmas Noel. She performs very well mainly due to the fact that she does have bombardment, weakening over attacks, and also the spiritual pressure boost that she does get when inflicting a status element. Someone like Bruno and Arpagichigo also have weakening plus bombardment, and that allows them to be very powerful nukes that basically ignore the 50% damage you're now losing on your soul bomb. I'm throwing this in right at the end because I actually forgot to talk about it in case you are actually wondering what build you should be using for your characters in guild quests. It's actually very simple, and it's made simpler thanks to these 2 lads, Cool and also Dan, so much love lads. As you can see here, we have the SP units. So for SP characters, the basic build is to use a T-set or T-cup depending on your affiliation, a stick-up depending on the killer that the character does have, and also a fortification build. If you are someone that does not own the, T-set or T-cup, because they are kind of a rare accessory, then just throw in the Masanga and you should be golden. You might want to throw in a Tenjitai if the character is your main. It really depends on what you want to do, but you can't go wrong with any of those builds. For your Nat characters or attack-based characters, you want to use a golden Chappie, and stick-on when your total attack is at 4,000 without the boost, right? Very simple. If you cannot do that, if your attack cannot reach 4,000, then you want to use a golden Chappie, and also Hollow Bane. If you don't have a golden Chappie, because again, once more, they are a rare item, it does happen, you might not own one, then just use a Chappie, Hollow Bane, and sticker. And that's basically the general build guide of what accessories you want to use. Again, for Nat characters, you want to focus on building your attack stat as high as possible. And then for SP characters, as always, you want to focus on building your SP as high as possible. But with that said, lads, that was basically the general idea of what you want to know, what you need to know when it comes to tackling the hard difficulty of Guild Quest. Hopefully I was able to explain everything quite clearly. If you still have any confusion or questions, just let me know in the comments below and I'll try and help. But with that said, hope you guys did enjoy the video and I'll see you all next time. Peace.